Fresh snow on the ground, perfect Minnesota day. We're here at Mercury Mosaics. They are a maker of handmade artisan tile. We're here at their headquarters and production facility in Northeast Minneapolis. Let's go inside and check it out. We're here with Mercedes Austin. She's the founder of Mercury Mosaics. You know what would be awesome if you could just tell us who you are, how you would describe your company to someone.
Oh man, okay, well, that's easy. I talk about Mercury Mosaics, it's like a bakery for tile. And Mercury was named after the Roman god of skilled trade and craftsmanship. And I think if I wasn't born in Minnesota, you would have found my soul in Italy. So that's how it all ties together. We've been making tile for almost 23 years. And we make things for, you know, your neighbor next door that loves color and geometry, but we're also creating things for like MIT and Whole Foods, Lululemon. So we go like totally across the gamut. There are a couple dozen or more of us now in the company today, between designing it or making it or accounting for it. So we're a really well-rounded team.
Can you tell us a little bit about this room we're in here now, and then how that ties into, if I were a customer or interested in Mercury Mosaics and their products, you know, how I'd find you and how I'd go about the process?
Yeah, well, definitely you can find us online, and if you're lucky enough to be local, that's what this showroom is for. And I like to think of your wall as a canvas. So a lot of times, you know, they're either working on or about to start or have just finished a project where they have a specific wall or area in mind for tile. So think of that as your canvas. Okay. And then what we've got here, we're in our design studio, and we've got basically several different snapshots of what patterns are available. So we have just a really succinct amount of sheeted shapes that we create, and we have a gorgeous color palette. So we've got 57 colors. And so we like to work with people to narrow down, essentially, maybe they've been inspired by a project we've already done, or maybe they have an idea based on what they've been inspired by in their own design style. So we kind of work with them to pare down and like curate a succinct, like 6 or less options that they can sort of play with for their space. So we like to have really like not overwhelming and talk to people about a million ideas, but really listen to their project and sort of, it's like kind of matching personalities. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We make it really easy to get samples, and then with samples, just kind of keep working to narrow down your selections and choose something that's going to really bring the whole space together. Sometimes our tile ends up being the star of the show, and sometimes we become a best supporting actor and are just like one color and low key, so we can do both versions of that.
We're here with Maggie Morrison, who's the director of production at Mercury Mosaics. She's going to walk us through the production side of things, and you know what would be great if you could just give us a little overview on, you know, how the tile's made, like what that process looks like.
So here's our production studio. This is all of our warehouse tile that you'll see later on is kind of our seconds that our imperfect tiles make it over here to find a good home. Over this way is where we dry our tile. And you'll see when we get to tile making how we use drywall boards to help dry our tile and keep everything flat.
The first part of the process, you're getting in raw material, right? You're getting clay.
Yeah, we're getting raw clay.
Okay.
I'm getting 50-pound boxes of raw clay.
Okay.
You can see we have pallets of clay. Each clay is 2,400 pounds. We literally just open the boxes, put them in our pug mills, and process them through the pug mills to then come out as flat sheets that we then cut into our tile shapes. This is our bisque. So bisque is tile that has been cut, dried, and then run through the kilns to, we use cone 04, which is about 2,000 degrees. In our kilns, then they come out like this and they're ready to be glazed. And you can see here, this is our wall of glazes, and see each color has a full range of variation. This is one color, this is patina, this is our all-star color, and goes from brown to green. So it just depends on firing temperatures, glaze application. Each individual person that's glazing them can contribute to the overall variation that you get.
So what are the most popular colors right now?
I would say number one is patina for sure.
Okay.
Bluegrass is also very important to us. It's a special glaze.
Yeah.
Ones that we want to try to get people interested in is Iron Smoke. River Rock is a newer glaze. So we're always trying to set trends and also cater to what our clients want.
Sure. How challenging is it to get the glazes just right or have kind of the unique glaze?
It depends on the glaze.
Okay.
Each glaze has its own personality, which can be challenging and also exciting. So we definitely lean into the variation. We want clients to love variation like we do and just kind of accept it for what it is, because I think, especially on a mass scale, it really can make it feel like an organic, beautiful installation in your home.
Okay, so we got the different glazing colors. Now, how is the glaze applied, or what happens after that?
So what makes us unique is that we use actual glaze brushes made from horsehair and brush on every single glaze. Other places will spray theirs on, which also looks beautiful, but you really get that beautiful variation and the literal, humanistic, organic look of a brush stroke on your tile.
Okay.
So that's what Vang is doing here. He just finished glazing some of our small hexagons in Bluegrass, that popular color I was telling you about before. And so now we put them on our baker's racks and get them ready to go in the kilns.
So obviously very different what it looks like applied to the finished product we just saw over there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
That light blue is going to turn into a really beautiful, deep bluish green. So we load them onto these trays. These are called core lights. These can be fired over and over again. And this is actually also made out of clay, but just bisqued to a very high temperature so that they don't warp over time. So then, we load them up each individually, right onto the shelves, and then lower them into the kilns. We can get about 30 square feet of tile per kiln.
Okay.
We have these, massive kilns over here that can fit much more, but this is kind of our standard Scott kiln that we fire every single day.
And different colors are being fired at different temperatures
Yes.
to get a certain effect, or
Yes.
just because they require it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a standard cone that we use for each glaze color, but sometimes if we're going for higher variation, we'll, kind of mess with the temperature a little bit to give us even higher variation. Okay, so now we're here in layout, and like I was saying before, we have our standard sheets that we put together. Just hundreds, if not thousands of these a year.
Sure.
This is more of our classic look of our 2x6 herringbone pattern. We get way more intricate. We can get down to 1 by 1 inch pieces. We can get as big as like a large hexagon. But this is just a really classic look that's never going away. But you can see across this glaze that there's a ton of variation, and we're very specific about our placement of this to create that really beautiful movement across one glaze.
So it's shipped out like this to the...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see on the back there's this mesh. We just use glue just glue it down to mesh, and then it comes in these really easy to install sheets.
Great. And now if it's more complex?
If it's more complex, we'll use templates that we make in AutoCAD, and then it's printed out to real life. We use large pieces of mesh, we glue everything down, we number them, cut them down, and then give you a map like a puzzle, basically.
That's great.
You can just put it together.
How would you describe handmade tile and how that compares to, call the generic tile out there on the market?
Yeah, I come from hospitality, and I seem to always bring things back to the kitchen. So I think of bakeries and handmade tile or pasta making, and I think about too, this is an stick with me on this comparison, but when you're eating out at a great restaurant and that chef who's really put all that care into a recipe, and you taste that meal versus grabbing something and microwaving it from the freezer. And it's, you can eat the same type of ingredients, but how they're prepared is very different from that chef-driven preparation versus frozen, toss it in the microwave. So handmade tile, literally has you have an artisan's intentionality of adding the color and putting it together on sheets. I can walk up to a handmade tile wall and literally feel it.
Do you have any favorite projects that you've done that you can think on the past 20 some years?
I mean, really, you mentioned it. So our collaboration with Deani Whitehawk for bringing her art to life at the Whitney by far has been one of my favorite projects to date to work on, for how intricate, challenging, and just completely out of the box that it was. And it was so fun because we were able to challenge ourselves on just everything that we had done for 22 years. We had new processes that we brought into it to just make the smallest, I thought we made small pieces, but we went really small to bring her
Really? Okay.
patterns to life.
So this may be an unfair question, but do you have a favorite tile?
If you ask me that question once a month, I'll probably have a different answer. And I think I have the right to have that because like I love our
You
tile,
live
but
with
it
it,
kind of
yeah.
depends. However, right now, so we just refreshed our color palette. So this Iron Smoke is my favorite color right now, and it's one glaze, but it looks like 20 colors. And I'm super into that. What is my favorite shape? Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't even know if I can answer that right now.
Not fair. I
You know
said it was
what?
an
You know
unfair
how
question.
I
so-
answer that too is like, what's your favorite shape relative to like the project or the
Sure.
space that
Makes
it's
sense.
going into?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm kind of, I don't know if it's even a thing, like an architectural whisperer. It's like that challenge of figuring out the right tile and the right colors for the space.
Sure.
You know, then I can sort of weigh in on, yeah, I think my favorite tile for that is going to be Subway, or I think my favorite tile for that is going to be Fish Scales, or
You get a pass. I think that's a fair answer.
yeah.
So you've talked about the evolution, not just of the company, but current day, how you're reinventing the different tiles you have, the glazing, some of the processes. What does the next 5 years look like, or
Oh
what
my
are you?
God,
What are you
don't even
excited?
ask me that
Okay,
question.
we'll start smaller. What are you
Okay.
excited about that's on the horizon? That's something you guys are working on and excited to share with the world.
One thing that I'm really excited about is for the first time in my career, I'm going to this trade show called KBIS, so
Okay.
the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, and we have partnered up with GE Cafe Appliances, and we're rolling out like 3 just gorgeous runway looks with their like just beautiful appliances. And so I can't really say what it's going to look like, but in February at the end of the month, we'll be rolling those out, and we'll be flying to Vegas and just seeing
great.
all this really cool, like just out of the box. So like we were designing for a client, but we weren't designing for a client, and like all the rules went out the window. So they're going to be 3 totally unique kitchen moments with their just like exquisite appliances.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you touring us through. I mean, this is a great conversation. Love the product.
Thank you.
Company's super interesting. Your story's great.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us in again.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Thanks, Mercedes.